So I was recently on the Hampshire Chamber of Solutions panel event for startups and small business owners, and it was a really great event. We had people talk about strategy, marketing, sales, how to avoid burnout, that sort of thing. And one of the great things about it was at the end, lots of people could ask their questions on their different topic of choice. And I really liked that. And so what I thought I'd do is start a new series called Ask M Anything. Preferably about marketing, because that's what I know about a little bit about, hopefully. So what I've done is I have put in this fishbowl all of the different questions I've collated from emails and LinkedIn messages and all these different things. And what I thought I'd do is just pick one every day and answer it for you. It's kind of the plan. So without further ado, let's go for a green one. Okay, so first question is, how do I decide what to call my business? Okay, panic. No, so I've got a resource on this, so let me frantically bring that up on my computer screen. So I'm just going to amari.co.uk, I'm going to articles, filtering the blogs by category, going to branding and finding the what's actually in a name blog, because I think this might help me out with this one. So, okay, things you need to know. So 100,000 domains are registered every day for new businesses. That's quite a lot. And what you need to do with your brand name, I think, if you want best practice, is to keep it short. So if you think about the sort of, big businesses, you've got Trello, Uber, Sony, Apple, Virgin, Red Bull, Mars, Amari, they're all quite short, aren't they? And that works for a variety of different reasons. So they're quicker to type, which is quite useful, especially on a mobile. It's easier to spell out to people over the phone. It's quite useful for tweeting, because when you need to think about your character count, it can often be a lot more helpful when it comes to logo design. As well, and also it's less likely to be corrupted, and what I mean by that is it's less likely to be become an acronym or be shortened by other people. It keeps it nice and clear and simple and short. It doesn't have to be 5 characters long. 9 characters is often best. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but it seems to be a thing. And so I suppose when you're thinking about your name, first thing you need to do is make sure it's available. So what you need to do with that, if you're in the UK, for example, is just check with Companies House company name availability checker. And I've put that resource on the blog for you, so you can go and have a nosy at that. So yeah, definitely check it's there. Make sure it's timeless as well. So, is that name going to mean something to you in 5 years' time? I chose Amari because it's actually a smush of my husband's name and my name. And so hopefully that is timeless, but also, it meant something to me because I always want to remember that I work for my family. And that's what gives me the motivation to wake up in the morning and come to work. The other thing I would think about is, a lot of people choose a name that's got their service in the name. So for example, Zen Payroll is a good one. So they obviously did payroll software, so it made sense for them. But 5 years later, they'd grown and they'd done like all this online HR services. And so suddenly Zen Payroll only represented a tiny bit of their business. And so they had to rebrand, and they rebranded to Gusto, which I think is quite a fun name. It's quite dynamic. It's got a lot of energy behind it. And I think since they've done that, they now work with like 1 or 2% of all of the businesses in the United States, which is really cool. Pardon me when you think about that. Ways to think about how to name your business. So one way is to look at your keywords. And think about your market, think about your company value proposition and see if something comes out of that. You could find something more personal to you if that's what you want to do, depending on whether it's a lifestyle business or whether you want to make it into a multi-million-pound brand. You can put your keywords into generators. So 2 that I love are leandomainsearch.com. And the other one is Wordoid, and Wordoid creates fictional words, which is quite fun to use. So you can find something quite short and quirky that way if you want to. The other things I would make sure you do, though, when you're looking at your words, is learn from my mistakes. So when I chose Amari, I chose it for all the right reasons, I believe. But actually, I cannot buy amari.com because it's just, it's like £10,000 to buy that website domain. So I'm stuck at amari.co.uk, even though I run an international marketing agency and I have global clients. And a couple of them have mentioned, I expected you to be .com. So I was working with a brand recently called Blue Energy. And they bought it, they'd done it, they came to me quite late in the process, unfortunately. And Blue Energy had already gone .com.co.uk. They could have Blue Energy Consulting, but that was quite long. So in the end, we went with bblueenergy.com and the .co.uk versions, because actually that gives an imperative. And they're trying to change the way that oil and gas do renewables. So it made sense within their brand proposition as well. So definitely have a look at things like that. And the other thing is to make sure that you're gathering feedback. So, when you're looking at possibility of names, it's a great way to use social media, poll it, ask people what they think the great name is, which one you should go with, if you've got any current clients, ask them. If you've got any family members and things like that, they're going to be hearing about it an awful lot. So make sure it's a name that they can cope with. And if you're going through a rebrand and you've got employees, then obviously make sure that the name is relevant to them, or at least they understand it. Because what's in a name as the quote goes, is actually an awful lot. It's the first thing that people really hear about your brand. So make sure it's a good one, is what I would say. And so that's the first ask me anything, or ask anything, I should say. If you've got any questions you want to add into my little fishbowl, I'm going to run out of these pretty quickly, I think. So please do let me know. And if you've got anything to add, I don't pretend to be a branding expert. I'm a content strategist and a social media person. So, if you've got anything to add, branding experts, then please feel free to let me know. I'd love to make this a bit of a thing. So there.